Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session in the Get Unstuck series with myself, Sarah Archer. I am a career and leadership coach, and I work with female leaders who are at a crossroads in their sorry, just got a little message up. About a problem that I'm having. Sorry. So I'm a career and leadership coach, and I work with female leaders to support them to create the kind of career success that's right for them without having to sell out or burn out. And burnout obviously is what we're talking about today. So I created the Get Unstuck series just to give you 15 minutes during your working week to step away from what you're doing and think about something related to your career. And I cover a whole variety of different topics, and they're all on my LinkedIn profile. If you want to go back and look at previous topics, they're in the guide section in my Love What You Do Lounge Facebook group, and they're on my YouTube channel, Career Tree Coaching. And they're always practical, so there's always things you can take away and action immediately. And obviously, if you are watching live, please do say hello. Give me a little wave or say hello in the comments. It's always nice to know that people are with me. And obviously, if you've got questions, particularly about today's topic, just pop them into the comments and I will answer them as we're going along. And obviously, if you're watching on replay, still, please do pop your comments or questions into the chat and just tag me in and I'll come back and answer that question for you. And obviously the topic we're talking today about is how to avoid leadership burnout. So if this is something that is really important to you, maybe you're feeling you're heading towards burnout, maybe you're feeling you might be in burnout, maybe you've got team members who you're worried about, then just pop the word burnout into the comments and let me know this is an important topic for you, because it's really important topic. And obviously what I'm going to do today is just cover a little bit around what it looks like and what some of the causes are, the triggers, and some practical things that you can do to put things in place to avoid it. So obviously if you're feeling that you are burnt out right now, then I would encourage you to just start to talk to somebody about how you're feeling, because by talking to somebody, whether that's a friend, a colleague, partner, or a professional, it can help you understand what's happening and come up with some solutions. And you might need to get some professional support for that, because sometimes when you're in burnout, it's hard to find the solutions. You need to get help with that. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I am seeing in some of my clients that I'm working with at the moment, definitely kind of signs of heading towards burnout. So not being in burnout, but heading towards burnout. So I felt like it would be a good topic to talk about today. Because when you're working as a leader, there are kind of additional pressures. You're kind of expected to just handle everything that comes at you, that you can be resilient, you can just deal with it. You're also expected to shield your team, to be a buffer for them, your department, from some of the stresses, some of the difficulties that the organisation might be facing, and still deliver high performance, both for yourself, but also for your team or department. And as a leader, you might find that you are the repository for your team's problems, and that, you are having to kind of absorb some of what's going on for them, all within the backdrop of change, in most organizations, there's some sort of change going on, whether that's organizational change, restructuring, whether it's growth, whether it's pivoting, whether it's, change of leadership, new CEO, whatever it might be. There's usually some sort of change going on. So you're having to kind of manage all those kind of leadership expectations and deal with change. And obviously that is challenging to deal with. And what I found quite kind of worrying, because when I was looking into this, I was looking at some research from McKinsey, which I am going to pop in the chat later on, the link to the research, which showed that from their research, leadership burnout is more prevalent amongst female managers. So in their research, more than half the women in management that they surveyed consistently felt burnt out. And, we can't deny that women still have the brunt of caring responsibilities, even when they're in a senior leadership role. So, we've got that to add into it, whether that's childcare, caring for dependents, caring for elderly parents, whatever it might be. So, often there's another job attached to the day once you've, finished work. So let's just think about, what leadership burnout actually is. And it's, it's a psychological condition caused by chronic stress, often associated with long-term workplace stressors. Okay. So it's, as a result of those long-term workplace stresses, which we're going to talk about in a minute, also exacerbated by certain personality traits. So things like perfectionism, where you're setting high standards, high expectations of yourself, conscientiousness, where you just want to get everything finished and you want to do it to a really high standard, people pleasing, where you feel you can't say no, or not wanting to let people down. So those kind of personality traits, while incredibly useful at contributing to high performance, when it's combined with those long-term workplace stressors, are more of a contributory factor to burnout. So if you know that you have those personality traits, then you're going to be more susceptible to burnout if there's workplace stressors in place as well. The World Health Organization definition of burnout is low energy, exhaustion, both physical and mental, increasingly negative feelings about work, and reduced professional effectiveness. So it's definitely something we don't want to be tipping into, isn't it? We want to be avoiding burnout where we can. So it's about, thinking about proactively, how can we make sure that we're not going to slip into burnout. So it's definitely kind of paying attention to what you know about yourself in terms of what are the signals to you that you are maybe not coping with work as well as you would like. And let's just think about the causes specific to kind of leadership burnout. So some of that is isolation. So not having the kind of meaningful connections that mean it, often you don't want to burden your team with how you're feeling or what you're experiencing. Maybe you don't want to share it with your boss because you feel they might judge you in terms of what your capacity is, your capability. Maybe, your peers feel like it's kind of competitive and you can't share things. So it can feel isolating being a leader. Also that kind of lack of support, going back to that sense of you just got to get on with it as a leader, coping with those day-to-day challenges, some of which you might never have experienced before, but not wanting to say, well, I don't know how to do that, just feeling like you've got to get on with it. Obviously high workload. A lot of organizations are experiencing pressures to deliver, pressures to operate with lower resources potentially, and those kind of unrealistic expectations about delivering on those high workloads. Someone I've been working with recently was telling me about 4 to 5 major projects they have to deliver in the next 6 to 12 months, which are huge projects, and it's like, whoa, that is so much to deliver as a leader. Plus multitasking and constant kind of partial attention. The research shows that we are not good at multitasking. We're not really designed to multitask. And that sense of constantly having to move your attention onto different things and not really engaging deeply can be incredibly frustrating. And more so at a leadership level where, constantly in lots and lots of different meetings. And then that kind of maybe sense of work-life imbalance where you're having to work longer hours than you perhaps would like, and that you don't have that kind of cognitive space. You're feeling that kind of cognitive overwhelm. And power stress, which we can't underestimate. When you're in a position of power and you're having to make tough decisions that affect the lives of people, that can contribute to your stress levels too. So there's lots of factors that can go into leadership burnout. So it is about kind of understanding what your burnout indicators are. So knowing, as I said before, kind of the factors that will mean that you are needing to address something or put something in place to support yourself. So it's not ignoring those, not ignoring the things that you know about yourself, that indicate that you're not coping, that you need some support in some way. So for me, I know that I tend to feel my burnout. So I feel physically exhausted. I know that's a sign for me that I need to do some kind of readjustment. I also know when I feel negative emotion, I start to get really grumpy. I get short with my partner, my family. I know that's a trigger for me. That means I need to do some readjustment. So you know yourself really well. So it's looking out for some of those indicators that you need to do some adjustments. So I'm just going to give you a few ideas about things that you can do. None of this is new or rocket science. It's just to act as a reminder to think about what you could do to support yourself if you know either you're going to go into, say, the next 6 months, are going to be quite stressful because of what's going on in the business or in your team department, or you've had a rough 6 months and you're beginning to feel that you're not sure you can cope with much more. So some things to think about doing. So one of them, which is quite simple, is to create a routine, which is to try and reduce decision fatigue. So you might remember Barack Obama, when he was president, he only wore grey suits. So he didn't have to, in the morning, make a decision about what to wear. So he was just reducing some of the decisions he had to make in his day. Now, I'm not suggesting that you wear the same thing every day. I certainly would find that really boring. But it is about thinking in your working day, what could you kind of put onto almost automatic pilot so you don't have to make decisions about it. So that could be about how you start your day. What's the first half an hour of every day look like? Can you create a routine where you just do X? So as you start your day, this is it, or finishing your day. So you just know you've got a routine that stops you having to think, should I start answering emails? Should I make a call? Should I, you can just go, no, this is what I do every day, and kind of stick to that. Obviously, setting some boundaries around work is incredibly important. So, making sure you're taking holidays, making sure you're not logging on after hours, that you're not sending emails at 10 o'clock at night. I had a client I was working with recently where she was logging on Sunday evening and 2 or 3 times a week and doing a couple of hours in the evening. That is not sustainable. So it's, noticing if you're slipping into unhelpful patterns, that you want to set some boundaries around your working hours. And remember, you're good. This is good role modeling as well for your team. And also thinking about boundaries around, I'm going to term it emotional professionalism. I was listening to Brené Brown's podcast recently with Simon Sinek and Adam Grant, and they were talking about emotional professionalism. And this is about setting boundaries around what people can bring, how they show up, and how they offload. Because if you're finding your team is offloading to you a lot, you're going to absorb that. Or if you've got members of the team or peers or your boss that are indulging in negative behavior. So if they're getting really angry or they're letting out their frustration and moaning and sharing emotion, because emotion is contagious, particularly negative emotion, that is going to increase people's stress. So it's not about saying you can't have those emotions. Emotions are important to experience, but it's about emotional professionalism and recognizing it's not appropriate to share that emotion at that moment, but taking it somewhere that can be held in a better way. So it's thinking about your own emotional professionalism and those people around you, and setting those boundaries around that emotional professionalism. And then obviously, things like prioritizing your self-care as well. So again, none of this is new, but it's about thinking, okay, making sure I'm taking breaks at work. There's a temptation when you're a leader, you just work through, but actually taking breaks to go and make a cup of tea, stretch, get away from your desk for 5 minutes, or making sure you're taking a lunch break, going outside, getting some fresh air. Again, it's good role modeling, but also it's just helping you reset, get a bit of perspective on the day, and just, giving you an opportunity to have a little bit of space to think about something that's not attached to your laptop or not a meeting. Thinking also about making sure you've got enough sleep, you're having enough sleep, and thinking about how you can bring a bit more joy into your day, your week, because it's important to look for ways to kind of give yourself energy and kind of nourish yourself so that you're not feeling depleted, because obviously stress depletes our energy. So it's looking for ways to get that balance, that energetic balance, in your day. And obviously, just being aware of your capacity. Your capacity is going to be different on different days. So it's thinking about, what's my capacity like today? What can I cope with? What actually do I need to move or reschedule, rather than kind of feeling like you've just got to push through all the time. So, and obviously talking to people about how you're feeling, doing check-ins with yourself, check-ins with your peers, check-ins with your staff, your employees as well. So there's lots of other things we could add in, but I don't want to overload you. I just want to kind of pick out some kind of key ones that I think are really helpful. So the first one is to just notice your triggers, the things that tell you that you are getting stressed, that you're maybe heading towards burnout, that you need to take some action. So really tuning into that, not avoiding them or ignoring them. Creating a routine where you can, setting boundaries, including emotional professionalism, and making sure you're taking breaks and taking holidays and all those good things. Looking for ways you can nourish yourself, increase your self-care, build your energy in, thinking about your capacity, and doing check-ins regularly with yourself, with your peers, with your staff. So obviously, if you need support around any of this, please do get in touch. I've also got a book about how to boost your well-being at work, which I'll put the link to in the chat as well, which gives you lots and lots of ideas about how you can increase your well-being, because that's what we want. We want to be not just reducing our stress at work, but actually increasing our well-being, so they are places that we are looking forward to going to work, and we feel they engage and sustain us, as well as us giving to our workplaces. So please do look after yourselves and make sure you're putting things in place, strategies in place to support yourself, so that you're not tipping into leadership burnout. And I will be back in 2 weeks. I'm taking a little break, so I'll be back on, I think it is the 19th, Wednesday the 19th of June, with another topic in the Get Unstuck series. So please do join me, and have a great rest of the week. And I look forward to seeing you in June. Thank you for joining me.